Welcome to CramerSez. CramerSez. Be part of the show at CramerSez.com. Interact on Twitter at CramerSez. Now, Kramer Says.
Welcome to the show. My name is Kramer. This is the Kramer Says podcast. It is it's Thursday night. It's March 30th, and what a big night. I was talking to the people on Instagram before we started here. We're live on Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Rumble. So if you want to join us on those platforms, you can as well. And feel free to call in. The phone lines are open, 877-619-3899. Here's what's interesting, is I didn't have a lot of time today to prep. I was really busy with what was going on in my own life, and I didn't have a lot of time to prepare for tonight's show. And thank God that Trump was indicted, because that'll give us all something to talk about. That's the way the media looks at it. They are wet and hard at the same time, all of them. And you can't tell which ones are which anymore because they transfer back and forth so quickly. But tonight, it's important to hear from the American people. You know how I feel about this. We want to hear from you. We want to hear from what you have to say. What happens next in this country? Is revolution, civil war on the horizon? We've got a corrupt DOJ. We've got a corrupt Biden administration, or as a buddy of mine this afternoon calls it, he goes, I refuse to call it an administration. That gives it some air of authenticity. They are a cartel. And so he calls it the Biden cartel. And I tend to agree with him. Again, we want to hear your thoughts. 877-619-3899. What happened today, what we just learned this afternoon, is unprecedented in this country. The fact that Americans are now worried that what happened in 2020 is going to be repeated in 2024. So the question is, what's your red line in the sand? What do you want to see? Tell us. Let me know. The number to call is 877-619-3899. I did not prepare anything for the show tonight. I want to hear from you. I don't want to talk about it. I'm tired of talking about it. I've been talking about this thing for almost 3 years now. I've been telling you we were going to get to this day 3 years ago. I told you this was what was going to happen. I'm not crazy. I'm not insane. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. You can see what they're going to do. When Trump was on that stage with Hillary Clinton, and she said, well, it's a good thing that you're not in charge of our legal system. And he goes, you're right, because you'd be arrested. And they went fucking crazy, lit their hair on fire. Trump's gonna lock up his political opponents if he's made president. You can't allow him to be president. He'll lock up everybody. Let me remind you what has happened since that day. Trump, home raided, indicted. Roger Stone, home raided, indicted. Steve Bannon, arrested. Peter Navarro, arrested. Rudy Giuliani, home raided. Every atrocity they said that Trump was going to perpetrate on the American people and on his political opponents, they're doing to him. They're doing to the people surrounding him. I told you it was not going to get any better. It's going to get a lot worse before it gets any better. And why? Because of you. All of you lazy people out there doing nothing, just complaining at home, doing nothing. Your voices mean something, but you're silent. Kramer, I can't be you. You don't need to be me. You don't need to be the guy next door that's a loudmouth about this issue. You just need to start standing and stop accepting it. I'm going to be real blunt with you here. No politician in history ever in this country has ever taken your rights. You've given them willingly because it's easier to go along than it is to stand and do something. I hear what you say. Nothing's ever going to happen. That's right, because you won't do anything. We need you there too. You are part of they. You know, the part where you say they're never going to do anything. Well, guess what? You're part of the they. You're part of the group that can do something. Why aren't you doing something? Why aren't you making your voice heard? Are you angry about what happened today? Are you angry that our president, who we know they cheated from the 2020 election, yeah, I'll probably get taken down on YouTube. Who gives a fuck at this point? Our nation is falling through the cracks. It's falling apart. The house of cards is coming down, and you guys are sitting there in front of your TVs not doing shit. How do I know? Because there's only a few of us doing this. I don't see you guys out. Now, as my dad used to say, he was a minister. And he would say, I'm going to preach at the flock. I'm going to preach at the congregation. I'm going to tell them what they're doing wrong. And there's going to be some people who are going to get butthurt about it, and they're going to get upset because they're already doing their part. If you're doing your part, then this message isn't for you, is it? Get your chip off your shoulder. Stop trying to be the victim. Go be the leader that you expect. Are you expecting somebody to step up and fight harder for your freedoms than you will? Whatever they're doing to Trump, guys, you've got to fucking understand this. If they can do it to Trump, the former president, you stand no chance. They will be a steamroller over you. How do I know? The political prisoners we've got sitting in the D.C. gulag right now. That's how I know. One gentleman's been in there for over 800 days. No trial, no bail, sitting there, rotting. Going on 2 years now. 3 years, going on 3 years. But that's my, it's time to start picking and choosing the things that you want to stand up for. You don't have to stand up for all the things I stand up for. You may not have that much time, but you got to fucking stand up for something. You've got to take action. It can't just be us screaming into a microphone and then during the day, let me explain something to you. Do you know why I do this show at 10 o'clock at night? I would rather do it much earlier in the evening. My wife would rather that I do it much earlier in the evening, but it takes that long until my day is wrapped up with doing all the other bullshit that I'm doing behind the scenes. I'm not patting myself on the back. I'm saying that we're lonely. We need more fucking people. I'm not bragging on myself. I'm begging for you to stand up, to do your part. But no, you won't. You won't. You're afraid of getting arrested. You're afraid of, well, the man might come and get me. They're already going to come and get you. How do I know? They're coming to get Trump. They're coming to get the president who won in 2020. We saw what happened. Well, Kramer, we stood up on one day and yeah. And what was happening today in Nashville, Tennessee? I'm sorry, the capital of Tennessee. What was happening in Nashville, Tennessee today? Did you see what happened? Yeah, there was an insurrection at the Capitol in Nashville. The media is not going to say that. The police were hurt. They were beat up. They were being hit with stuff. They're never going to say any of that. You're never going to hear any of that. You've got to start playing by the exact same rules they're playing by. What's that? You want to go to D.C.? You want to go to your state capitol and protest? Nah. Go to their homes. Make it unlivable for them and the people in their community. And by the way, the majority of these politicians do not live in the areas that you and I live in for the most part. Right? They live in the ritzy areas of town. So you show up there at, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night with your speakers and your tambourines and your noisemakers and your megaphones. You show up with all of that and the lights and you've got 1,000 people in the street in front of Bragg's home. Guess what? You've got a problem. You've got a problem with the neighbors. Bragg's going to have a problem with the neighbors. That's who's going to make Bragg move. You can't make Bragg move because he's being backed by everybody. You got to make his community make him move. You got to play by the same goddamn rules that the left is playing by. If you think that we're going to have any change, that anything's going to change because people in D.C. are going to fight for your rights, you're being childishly naive. How do I know that they're not fighting for your rights? Look at the current situation. They don't care. Today, I'll give you an example. In a conversation with these gentlemen from D.C., I'm not going to name their names, but when I started saying what's going to happen next, that we have between now and November of 2024 to get this nation in order, and we're going to find out one way or the other in November of 24, we're going to find out in November of 24 whether we have a just system or not, whether we can have free and fair elections or not. If that was a fluke in 2020, we'll find out in 2024. 2022 kind of leads us to believe that it's going to be a repeat of 2020. That's okay, because we know what we're looking for this time. Do you think that the American people are going to roll over for another 2020 and 2024? You think that they're going to allow these kangaroo courts to impeach Trump twice and then indict him on felonious charges that are made up? When I say made up, I mean made up because it's a misdemeanor initially, right? But it's 2 years out of statute of limitations. But they've taken it and they've given it special circumstances so they can make it into a felony. You ran the light. You ran the red light. We're going to give you the life sentence. You get the death penalty because you ran the red light. That's what they're saying. That's the equivalency here. Phone lines are open at 877-619-3899. Really want to hear from you tonight. Make your voice heard. Or are you just going to be one of those people that sit back and wait for somebody else to speak up? Because that's what you're doing. You're waiting for the politicians in D.C. to get up in the morning and say that they're going to go to work and they're going to come in and they're going to work harder for you tomorrow to ensure your freedoms. You think it's going to happen? I can guarantee it's not going to happen. How do I know? They haven't done it so far. You're live on CramerSez. What's your name and where are you calling from? Sorry, go ahead. Hello, you're on CramerSez. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Chris from North Carolina.
Okay, Chris, what's up, buddy?
Not much. Just going back to what you were saying. The whole stand-up and fight thing. This is kind of the way I felt about January 6th. You know, everyone talked about January 6th, like, oh my God, it's such a bad thing. And when you go back to the founding fathers, you know, the Second Amendment and stuff, they put that in there to fight against tyranny. Well, a group of Americans felt like the government had too much control and they went and took action about it. And then all of a sudden everyone's persecuted for it. So it's like, it's kind of, you know,
are you afraid to speak out because of that? Do you feel that, are you afraid to speak out because of that, Chris?
Oh no, if you were to speak to my wife, you could ask her and she'd be like, sometimes I think he needs to keep his mouth shut more.
Same here. My wife says the same thing about me. Well, let me ask you this. Based on what you're seeing today, do you think that things are going to get better? That's the first question. And the second one is, do you think that we can trust, looking forward to 2024, do you think that we can trust the system again in 2024?
Oh, fuck no. Shit's going to get a lot worse before it even gets better.
I agree.
Until people have had enough, because I've seen, 2 election cycles. I've seen a primary and a midterm now where the same shit's happened, and TikTok's full of people talking and, you know, frustrated and pissed off and all this other stuff. You see people out in the street and stuff. But I give you a prime example. Look at France right now. The entirety of the capital is flooded with people because they raised the retirement age. And even the police officers threw down their stuff and they sided with the protesters.
Yep.
They'd had enough. And that's France.
Yep. Because what people don't understand, here's the thing that people don't understand, and I don't mean to cut you off, but I think that the issue is that Americans are so comfortable. They like to complain about how bad things are, but they're so comfortable, they're not willing to stand up for the freedoms that they say are being ripped away from them. Listen, if somebody came into my home and ripped something out of my home, my TV or my radio, whatever it is, I'm going after them.
Oh, yeah.
Why don't we do the same things when our politicians come in and say, like this new Restrict Act and the Patriot Act and these other measures that limit our freedoms? Why don't we act then? Because we have the right to stand up. Chris, tell us why. Tell me why we haven't, as a people, come forward since 9/11 said, listen, in hindsight, we now think that we realize what the Patriot Act has done and how it's limited our freedoms. We need to get rid of that shit. You guys go do something else. You figure out something else, but you got to get rid of that shit because it limits our rights. Is that something that we should be doing, Chris?
The Restrict Act is basically the Patriot Act 2.0.
Steroids, on steroids.
Yes, exactly. I mean, when you give one person that much control over everything, I mean, everyone nowadays is connected to the internet. So they would pretty much, with no calls, no warrant, no anything, they could just tap into your
right.
phones, your travel records, your any kind of internet history, your text messages, your private messages, everything. I mean, it's just like NATO, for example. NATO was created for a reason, and it should have been abolished a long time ago. It was created during the during the Cold War for the USSR. It should have been abolished a long time ago. And part of the reason why we have this issue with the Ukraine war right now is, which I don't even think we should be involved in it, because we got our own issues on our doorstep. But they made a promise that they would not expand NATO territory any further, and then they expanded it east towards Russia. And that's just, you're sitting there poking.
Okay, so let's go back, because the Ukrainian thing right now is a bridge a million miles away. So let's stay on topic tonight with what's going on with Trump and what that means for our nation. Chris, as I said earlier, we haven't done anything. The American people have not stood up to and made their voices heard loud enough about the Patriot Act, let alone the Restrict Act. And now we've sit back and we've been silent after 2 to 3 years of this bullshit from COVID, from the election of 2020, the lies that we've been told time and time again by both the left, the right, and the mainstream media. At what point does the American people say, fuck this, we're done? I don't think that there's enough Americans awake. Hopefully, this moment will do it, because what happened today is historical. The first indictment of a sitting or a former president ever.
I think, not to interrupt you, I think that what this is going to do, actually my wife and I were talking about this about 15 minutes ago. I think this is basically going to do the opposite. So you're going to have two different reactions. So what this is going to do is it's going to embolden other states that have been wanting to indict him. They're going to be like, all right, we got precedent now because New York did it, so it's not going to be that bad on us if we do it.
Right.
So I think you're going to see more states that wanted to but didn't want to at the same time because they didn't want the backlash. But on the other flip side of it, they're going to accomplish the opposite of what they're trying to do.
I agree.
They're going to turn Trump into a martyr,
a hero. They're
going to push more people into his lap and turn him into a martyr, because after I forgot the damn word for it. 2 investigations and all this other stuff that has went against him, and none of it stuck. They had no evidence, and now they have evidence that half of the evidence that they did use was manufactured and created by an opposite party. All that's out there, and now you got this. It's just going to push more people towards him, and it's going to create the opposite effect of what they're actually trying to do. I just wonder the IQ level of these people at some point.
What do you think they're trying to do?
Well, they're trying to pin him with a felony so they can prevent him from running, because they're scared of him running. That's exactly what they're trying to do. They're trying to turn a misdemeanor into a felony.
So we see what it is. We see what's happening, right? Do we care? Should we care? I mean,
everyone should be.
We can see what it is. Why instead of bitching about everything that's going on, right? What's going to happen is going to happen. But I think that it's time, Chris, that we start holding these politicians accountable. Don't you?
Oh, I've talked to my senators and representatives quite a bit. They hear from me quite a few times. In fact, our state now this week has actually repealed the pistol permit requirement. The Republican Senate and House of Representatives in North Carolina voted to repeal the pistol permit requirement that makes you go to the sheriff and have a permit from him and pay $5 to the sheriff's department, and then you still have to have your FBI background check.
Yep.
But that's been the way in North Carolina for decades.
Well, it's unconstitutional. And by the way, I'm going to jump in. That's what people say. People go, well, it's been like that forever. No, it wasn't on day one of the Constitution. It wasn't. They didn't have these laws or these provisions because they knew then. And by the way, if you go back and start looking at gun laws, when they really started to restrict them, it was about 70 years after the passing of the ratification of the Constitution. It took a generation.
Oh, I know.
Right? It took a generation of them before they started acting on it. Do you know why? Because the people that were still alive at that time, they knew exactly why the Constitution had the First and Second Amendment as the First and Second Amendments. It was that important to them.
Oh, I know. I've been reading some of the Federalist and Anti-Federalist papers.
Yep.
And
more people should. If you haven't read those, go out and read
they should.
Yeah, everyone.
No, they should.
Everyone.
And 1984 by Orwell.
Yep. If you
1984 by Orwell will tell you the roadmap that we're heading in.
That's it. That's it exactly. Chris, thanks for calling in. I appreciate it so much. We're taking new calls at 877-619-3899. You're watching Kramer Says Live. This is brought to you by Tusk. If you haven't heard about Tusk yet, Tusk is the new web browser built by conservatives for conservatives. If you want more information about it, you can check it out at tuskbrowser.com. Welcome back. My name is Kramer. This is the Kramer Says podcast. You are living and watching a historical time in our history. The first time that a former president has been indicted for any crime, any crime at all. It's a historical moment, and we are living through one after another at this point with what's going on in our nation. The phone lines are open, 877-619-3899. As I said, I didn't do any show prep today. When it was revealed what Bragg had done, that they had decided to go ahead and make this move, it was imperative that we just talk, that the American people, like Chris from North Carolina and others, make their voices heard. Lines are open, 877-619-3899. It's interesting to me that the people that I bitch about all the time, the Democrats, I bitch at two group of people generally, Democrats, their ilk, their group, and then the rhinos. And now a rhino, everybody goes, well, I'm not a rhino. Well, you could be. You might not even know it. Well, I like this person, doesn't matter. What are you doing about defending your freedoms? You're going to hear me talk about this from this point on. We're where we are, not because of what we've done. It's because what we haven't done. The inaction that we've taken. Kramer, that doesn't sound right. That's like a double negative or something. You can't not take action. Yeah, that's it. Inaction. We've been inactive. We have not held our people accountable. They think that they have the right to rule us. They don't realize that we're citizens. We're not subjects. They work for us. They're our subjects. That's why they're called servants, public servants, not public masters, public servants. You have to start holding them accountable. They do not run your life. How many videos have you seen on social media? And there's channel after channel of these, of police officers stepping outside of their authority. That's the guy that's he's just the immediate version. He's the immediate contact for the government. That's all the police department is. They're the enforcement arm of the government. They're the armed police of the government. Yeah, they're there to protect and serve. And I'm not coming down on police at all. But there's a lot of police officers, and I've had my share of encounters with some that don't know the law, and they allow their anger, they allow their emotions to get in place way before it ever should. You've seen the videos. You know what I'm talking about. Well, guess what? You know what's worse than that? The politicians. Because we've got politicians that do the exact same thing. And there are two types of politicians that we have. We have the uneducated, what's his name? Hank Johnson, I think it was, from Georgia, that thought that Guam might flip over because it was too heavy on one side. The military base had made the island, it's a small island, not a big island. It's just a little this way and a little this way. I'm making fun of him because that's the way he described it. He didn't know the words width and length. it's this long this way and it's this length this way, and then he said, I'm afraid that it's going to tip over. The island's going to tip over. That's a congressman, U.S. Congress. Now, I'm sure that we've got a couple of Republicans in there that have problems rubbing two brain cells together too, but I haven't seen them ask if an island is going to tip over. If the military thinks that their military base may make the island tip over. Hank Johnson did that. Republican didn't do that. The Democrat Hank Johnson did. That's why we're in the situation that we're in, folks. Because if you've got cops that don't know the law, and they can be idiots as well, right? That's where we see our government in action immediately. Police officer pulls you over. And you hope to God that he's free and fair, right? But have we seen that? No, we didn't see that. When the young gentleman that was beat to death by the police officers, what was his name? Tyree Nichols. I can't believe I pulled that one out of my ass. Jesus Christ. I am so tired. I didn't go to bed until about 5 o'clock this morning and had to get back up at 10 o'clock. Tyree Nichols lost his life to the government. And people want to say it's the police. Nope. It's the government. They're just an arm of the government. Is it any different? Is it any different for his death than it is for anybody else? The children who died because, well, the politicians who surround themselves because they're afraid of us, right? Have you seen in DC? Have you gone to your state capitol? It's almost impossible to get in to talk to your representatives because they're so afraid of you. They won't give our kids the same protection, though. Oh, we're not gonna put them behind armed. We're not gonna build prisons for our children. How would that look? Well, it looks like you got 6 dead people this week. That's what it looks like. We're not gonna arm our teachers. How would that look? A lot less deadly. Guess what we don't hear about? When's the last time? Now, there has been a couple, and the people were insane that did this, but when was the last time that you heard of one of the school shooters shooting up, I don't know, the police station? Going into the police station and trying to take out as many cops as they can. When was the last time that you saw that happen? You didn't. You don't, because it doesn't happen. You're live on CramerSez. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hey, my name's Ike, and I'm from Texas.
Jackson, what's on your mind tonight?
Man, I just got done with work, so I don't know what the hell is going on with Trump, but holy hell, I'm so fucking sick and tired of doing this shit. And now I'm hearing all this shit about BRICS and taking our dollar and devaluing it. That's fucking scary as all hell. So, what the fuck? What do we do?
Well,
what do we do about the dollar going down? Because this whole CBDC shit that's becoming more and more real every day is getting to me a little bit, and I just don't know how to fucking, what do we do? I'm so fucking tired of working my ass off.
That's it. You're tired. Here's some things that we can do. Now, when I say this, people are going to go, "Oh, Kramer, we don't want to do that. That's I got to make some work." Listen, let me ask you this: what are you willing to do?
I'm willing to do fucking anything at this point. Those fuckers don't deserve our fucking freedoms. We have to take it back, but I'm not seeing enough firemen under our asses.
Well, here's the thing. Here's what I suggest you do in your community. Start being the voice in your community. Gather other people around you. And here's the things that I've told people. Listen, I don't want to be a leader. That's not my role. All right? I know that. But I think that it's time that my voice may get the next person who can be the leader. It can get them fired up, and they can come. We can use the platform, and then they can move past me. I don't care. But you're right. We've got to start speaking up. We've got to start talking. We've got to start talking loudly because they've made it very clear they're on an attack for our freedoms. They're on an attack for our children. So let me ask you this. What shouldn't we do to protect what we're losing right now?
I think we go all out. I'm fucking tired of this corrupt ass government. And I think we just need to get people from every state and just start protesting. And
well, I don't think protesting is enough anymore. I'm done with protesting. No, I'm done with protesting. I'm done with
Okay.
protesting. I see protesting. When we protest, it's called an insurrection. So
you're right.
here's what I
You're right.
propose. If we're going to have a protest, nope, no protest. We're done. We're gonna get painted with that brush. The next time that we go protest, it's the real deal. That's what I think that the American people have to accept. Am I wrong?
No, I think you're right. You're right.
Sorry, I got a big old ice cube in my mouth. Sorry, I was taking
All
a drink.
good.
Let me ask you this. I don't want war. I don't want civil war. I want
I don't
this to
want
be
war
done peacefully.
either.
But let me ask you this.
Exactly.
As peaceful as you want to be, right? What we're going through right now is no different than a bully on a playground. I've been saying it for a long time.
Well, yeah.
How do you correct a bully's actions? How do you get him to or her to realize that they've got to quit doing what they're doing? I only know playground rules. I'm not an attorney. I'm not a legal expert. Everything that I know about how people work came from the playground. It hasn't changed. Those people haven't changed. So
No.
How did we do it on the playground? Remind me what happened on the playground when somebody stepped out of line?
You gave them the old 1-2.
That's coming. And people say, well, Kramer, you're calling for violence. I didn't say anything about violence. That's the first thing you thought. There's a number of different things that we can do before it gets violent.
Yeah.
But violence is going to happen very quickly. My fear is that this deal with Trump may spark violence because people like yourself and like myself, they've had it. They've had it. We're done.
I'm tired of it.
Well, yeah. I mean, you said you just got off work. So, how long did you work today? How many hours did you put in?
Oh, shit. I start my day at fucking 3 a.m. Go until about 10.
Okay, well, I'm not going to complain that I only got 5 hours of sleep last night.
No.
You put a hard one in. Okay, well, let me ask you this.
I'm so fucking tired of hearing this shit all the goddamn time.
So,
and it's like I work too much because I'm worried about throwing money away for the CBDC shit.
Well, but you're already throwing it away. You're throwing it away through inflation because of the actions that they're taking, right? And here's I'm sorry, what was your name again?
Ike.
Ike?
Ike, yep.
Okay, there. Okay. I thought that's what you said. And I didn't want to call you Ike, and your name was actually Mike. So, Ike, let me ask you this. Are you better off today or worse off today than you were in 2019?
Oh, hands down worse.
Worse. Okay. Do you think that it's going to get any better with the people that are currently in power? If they stay in power, will it get any better?
Oh, no, it's just going to keep getting shittier and shittier.
And if that's the case, and we rise up and we peacefully go to them and say, listen, guys, quit doing what you're doing. We don't want you to do that anymore. What do you think the response is going to be from these people that are doing what they want to do and don't give a shit what we think? What do you think will happen when we ask nicely?
Nothing will happen when we ask nicely.
And what happens?
Fucking nothing.
What happens historically in nations around and I'm not taught, you can speak freely because we're not conspiring. I don't want it. But you have to look at other examples throughout history. When people are tired of their politicians not treating them right and being tyrannical, remind me what Marie Antoinette said right before she lost her head. Do you remember what she said?
That part of history I don't remember.
Okay, well, she said the people were starving. They had no bread. And when she was told they have no bread to eat, she says, well, then let them eat cake. And in the last couple of months, in the last few months, when gas prices started going up, do you remember what the energy czar, the energy secretary said? Do you remember what she said?
I think I do remember.
Well, she said she had her Marie Antoinette moment where she came in and she said, well, if they can't afford gas, then maybe they should buy an electric car. That's what she said. That was her Marie Antoinette, the revolution of France. That's how it started because that's what she said. And it amazes me. Thanks for calling in. Phone lines are open at 877-619-3899. We really want to hear from you tonight and get insight into what you think is going on. And so much, thanks so much, Ike, for calling in. It's important that we remember our role and who we are and that we're the American people. We're citizens. We are not subjects. The Constitution is not the rules for us. It tells them what we get to do and that they don't get to fucking say anything about it. That's what the Constitution is for. It's a set of this is everything that they get to do. I'll give you an example of just how fucking stupid the left is. Whoopi Goldberg the other day was complaining that comedy isn't comedy anymore and they can't be funny because, well, the woke folk are canceling people. So if you say something funny or you do something funny, 2 days later, it's all over the internet that you did somebody's rights here or you did somebody's rights there. So she's asking the woke folks. She wants to find out if they can write a book or a pamphlet or something and put it out there for everyone to see. So the comedians and the rest of us will know what we can and what we can't talk about. She wants a permission slip from the woke folk on what she can say, what's funny. You see, we've already got that. I've got a permission slip. I don't need a fucking book. I've got a piece of paper that says I can say whatever the fuck I want to say. It's called the Constitution. I don't need to ask for somebody to write something out and tell me what I'm free to say. That's the logic of the left. You're on CramerSez Live. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Oh, this is Kim.
Hi, Kim. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Well, I could be doing better. This news today about the indictment of Trump, what do you think? What happens next?
First of all, I think there's always something. There's always an agenda with the Democrats. Always.
Yep.
Always an agenda. There's always a story. There's always something that they're doing. There's always something that they're going to make sure that we don't know about.
I think it's interesting. I was going through Twitter today and I was reading the comments and the number of people that were so gleeful about this news. I don't get it. This is not positive news for our nation. If Joe Biden were to be indicted tomorrow, I wouldn't be jumping for joy. We're going to have some rough days ahead. That's the way that I look at it, right? The markets are not going to do well with this news. They're just not.
No.
What part of the country are you in, Kim?
Oh, I'm in South Dakota.
South Dakota. So how is it there?
Yeah.
Has your life gotten better since the Biden administration or the Biden cartel took over?
Okay. First of all, when all this started, me and my husband saw this all coming and we got ready.
And how did you do that?
Actually, well, first of all, we paid off all our bills. We sold our house and we moved back to our home state.
Yep. We did the same thing. Same exact deal.
Yeah. Just paid off all our bills. So we have no bills except our day-to-day life.
Yep. You're vagabonds, you're gypsies. You can pick up and move at any moment. Nothing's holding you back or down, right?
Yes.
Yep.
I mean, we do have a house. We bought a house and we paid for it right off the bat. We just said, we're not going to have any payments. We're just going to get this done and over with so that we don't have anybody telling us what we can and cannot do.
Yep. And now that you've done that, what do you think the reality of that is? Do you think that that's being honest with yourself? Because I don't think it is. I think that this group of people that have taken over our nation, in every respect, I don't think that they respect your rights, your individual rights.
Oh, no. I think that if we aren't ready, now, again, we have gotten everything that we could possibly do, we are trying to do for us and our family.
Give me an example of what that is. What kind of issues things are you doing?
Well, first of all, we are, investing in different things so that if the dollar goes, through the ceiling or, hits the floor and bounces, we're going to be ready, hopefully.
Well,
another thing that we did.
Are you investing in foreign funds?
Well, we are doing the rounds, the silver rounds.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. And another thing that we did is we invested in food storage.
Did you think, Kim, did you ever think that and if you don't mind my asking, how old are you?
I'm 57.
Okay. Same age as I am.
Had to think.
You're a 65 or 63 or 64, 65, babe?
66.
66. Okay.
January.
I'm 65.
Yeah.
Okay. So, did you ever think in your 57 years that we would be in a position in our country where you and your husband are actively and seriously thinking about a time when you may not have enough food in America? Did you ever see that on the horizon?
No, we never ever thought about that. And in fact, I was just telling one of my kids that before 2020, I didn't pay enough attention to what was going on with our
Yep.
government.
Yep.
And today I do.
Yep.
Today I am on all the time. I contact our representatives all the time. I make sure that they know exactly what I think all the time.
And that's what you've got to do. And not only that, the other thing that I think that the left has cornered the market on how to get things done by being in their face. You know,
my
it takes
husband
10
and
or
I-
12 kids. It takes 10 or 12 kids screaming at a politician for them to go, okay. We'll look into that. You've got 200, 300 of those kids. All of a sudden, it's a news story. Well, they don't want that, and so they start reacting. That's what we've seen, right? David Hogg, for example,
Yes.
is all over Twitter right now. Oh, look at all this going in Nashville. They've done it again, and he's blaming an inanimate object for the actions of a person who's mentally ill. And they will not address that part because, well, that may make the mentally ill person feel bad about themselves, and they may actually go do more harm to the public.
Right.
I mean, this mentality, the circular logic that they get locked in that doesn't allow them to address the issue. The question I have to ask, and the reason I'm beating around the bush on this point is this. If they refuse to address the issue, can we ever fix the problem?
Well, I don't know. It depends on how we as a society will stand together and do this. If we don't stand together and do this, then nothing's ever going to get done.
And why won't people stand together right now? I know why they won't, but you tell me why you don't think they will.
Well, they won't because they're afraid they're going to hurt somebody's feelings.
Yeah. Or
you know,
they're going to
heaven
get in trouble.
forbid that I say the wrong thing.
Right.
Or they're going to get in trouble. Now,
Or they're going to get in trouble.
me personally, I don't care.
I'm
You
the
come
same
to my
boat.
door. You go
Yep.
ahead. Come to my door.
Yep. Right. I'm the same way. Yeah. I think that they're afraid of being canceled. I think that they're afraid of being ostracized by their family. I think that they're afraid of losing their job, their home, everything for standing up for the right thing. And Kim, let me ask you this. Is it ever wise to take a knee, to kneel when you're doing the right thing?
I will never take a knee.
Me neither.
I will always stand up. I will stand up. I have grandbabies that are absolutely adorable, and my kids and my grandbabies and my friends and family. No, I would fight to the death, and I know my husband would too.
And I don't think now here's what's interesting to me. I know a lot of these politicians, left and right. They are so far removed from reality and where the American people are right now. I don't think that they see your pain, number one, but your passion for doing what's right. I think they're in this bubble where they think that right now, and I could be wrong. Sometimes I am. But they think that right now, fighting for trans rights, as inflation is going through the roof, they think that that's the bigger issue. So my point is,
no, I don't give a shit about that trans rights bullshit. I'm sorry. I don't want to have anything to do with that. They can do whatever they want in the comfort of their bedroom. Just leave me out of it.
Well, and not just you, but your kids and your grandkids.
Yeah, I don't want my grandbabies seeing that.
Well, what I think is interesting, there's a group of people. They've got they've got nearly all the letters in their acronym, and they're the one group of people out of all of us who've decided they want to live a lifestyle that does not allow them to procreate. They have to outsource that. If they want kids, they have to outsource that some other way. They can't. They don't do it because of the actions they take. They can't do it themselves to each other.
Well,
but they want
all of this is all.
But Kim,
everything
they don't.
That's
I'm sorry. But they don't respect the right that those are our children. We decided to procreate. You don't get to mandate what you say to me and mine.
Exactly.
If you want to have
you
kids,
don't ever.
Well, I'll add this, and I'll let you speak. It just came to me. If you want to warp kids' minds, have your own. That's what I did.
My kids, I have half my grandbabies are homeschooled and the other half are in school. And I keep telling all my daughters and sons, you need to homeschool your babies.
Yep.
Get those babies away from those pedophiles. Anymore, I don't think anybody's normal.
Well, listen to this, Kim. Listen to what we're talking about tonight. We're talking about a former president who got more votes the second time around than he did the first time, a former president being indicted. These are the topic of conversation. We're talking about having to protect ourselves from trans weirdos. And I'm going to go out on the limb and say it because the last 4 or 5 shootings, mass shootings, the left keeps screaming and yelling about these shootings. The guns, the guns, the guns. It's not the guns. It's the fucking weirdos that you guys allow to have guns. It's not me. My gun's sitting right here. I will never lift it against someone unless they mean me and mine harm. It's safe.
Exactly.
It's not going to do anything. It's an inanimate object. It's no different than this. It's no different than this. It's no different than this. These are fucking... I can kill you with this. I can jab that into your fucking jugular 90 times. Ask somebody in prison. They know that this right here is deadly. That's a deadly weapon in prison. That's why they don't allow them to have them in prison. You don't get those. They make sure that they try to protect all sharp objects. My point is this, Kim, is that this mentality that the left has, that if we take the guns away, and I don't think they understand this yet, we take all the guns away. We do what Australia did and what Canada's trying to do and what Great Britain has done. Show me one free nation that has that doesn't have guns. One free nation. It's not Canada.
There is no free nation that doesn't have guns.
No, because
if we give up our guns, we might as well just, haul ourselves into the boxcar ourselves.
Exactly. Well, that's what we're doing. Every time that we give up one of these little freedoms, Ben Franklin, I think, put it best. I think it was Ben Franklin that said this, that anyone who is willing to give up a little safety or a little freedom for perceived safety, they've lost both. You can't have both. Do you know what ensures me and mine in my home tonight? Do you know what keeps me safe in my home? My firearm.
Probably the same. Yeah. Probably the same thing we have.
Yep. And I've got them I've got several within reach of wherever I am in my home at all time. Not because I'm afraid.
Exactly.
I'm not afraid. Are you afraid, Kim? I'm not afraid.
No, I'm not afraid.
I have a gun. I have several guns. I think that's the different mentality. I had an old client of mine that sadly a few years ago, this was in Indianapolis. I think 3 gentlemen came off. When I say that, I'm going to use that term lightly, loosely. They came off of it's called the Monon Trail. And it's a old rail line that goes through the center of Indianapolis, and everybody uses it to get bikes and so on, from one place to another. It's great exercise path and so on. Anyway, they came off of the Monon. They came up from the center city up into the northern part of the city, and they used the Monon to get there. And they just came off the path in a neighborhood, kicked in the back door, and raped the wife and the daughter, and beat the husband, who was an invalid, beat him nearly to death, and he had to watch his daughter and wife be raped multiple times.
Oh God.
Okay, so this was several years ago. So my client lived 4 or 5 houses down from them. And I said, man, that sounds like you guys got to get out of that neighborhood. And again, this is a ritzy neighborhood. It's north of Broad Ripple in Indianapolis. Anybody that knows the area, those are $1 million homes. They're not cheap homes in that area. So he said, I said, wouldn't you feel safer if you got a gun? Oh no, I would never put a gun in the house. Just think how dangerous it could be. Well, what do you mean? Well, how dangerous a gun is. Guns aren't dangerous. People with guns are dangerous.
People are dangerous.
I've got one sitting here next to me, Kim. Will that gun go off on its own?
No.
Will it hurt anybody else?
No.
It won't do anything on its own, will it? It won't. It takes a human to do it. A human has to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so if a human can decide, you know what, I'm not going to take a gun. I'm going to take a knife, and I'm going to go down to a restaurant in New York City, and I'm going to stab the first man I see. I'm going to stab him to death. Is that possible?
Of course.
Okay, that happened. Chose not to use a gun. Why didn't he use a gun? Well, he couldn't get one. He was mentally ill. Wasn't allowed to get one. So what did he do? He went and got a knife, and he stabbed the first person he could find in the street, killed him, dead, bled out. It's all on film. We saw the entire thing.
It has nothing to do It has nothing to do with the fact that, humans aren't able to use guns. It has everything to do with control, and it's about control.
But we've got to get this argument. We've got to talk about this argument. The control issue is a government issue. I'm talking about this logic that guns are the problem. It's not. The mentally ill man could not. By the way, I should have had a drink tonight. I decided not to have a drink, and when I need to chill out just a little bit.
I could tell.
Is that let me put it this way: a mentally ill person is going to do what they're going to do. So if they can't get their hands on a gun, guess what they're going to go? Axe, machete, knife. How many times have we seen this? They couldn't get a gun. We just saw a case with the Indians, right? I mean, a group of Indian. The guy went in with a machete. So my point is this: someone who has intent of doing you harm will do you harm, regardless of what rules you put in place. Because what we're doing is exactly what that's Whoopi's logic. Give me all the rules of things I'm not supposed to do. As opposed to, it's already illegal to murder. Is it illegal to murder? Right?
Whoopi's kind of an idiot.
Well, not kind of. Don't give her that leeway. She's an idiot. She's a full-blown on idiot.
Okay. All right, touche.
So do you see my point here is that we're arguing about the gun and not looking at the real issue, and the real issue is mental health. But the left can't go after mental health, because if they go after mental health, they've got a problem.
That's exactly why they decided to indict Trump tonight, is because of everything that happened yesterday.
Yep.
They have
move on. Change the narrative.
They have to move on. They have to, it's switching, but what is that? Bait and switch. They have to show. You have to look over here because we don't want you to see what's going on over there.
Yep, exactly. Well, Kim, thanks so much for calling in tonight. I appreciate the call. Moving on, phone lines are open at 877-619-3899. They've been ringing off the hook, so I'm going to try and get to another one. Thanks again so much, Kim, for calling in. It's interesting to me that you can have this conversation about guns, and you can try to have a serious adult conversation about guns. And every time you bring it up, the one thing they do is they want to pivot off and make it about everything else. It's about one thing. It's a weapon. It's no different than a hammer. It's no different than a knife. It's no different than a sword. It's a weapon. It's a tool. I would much rather have my chances, my odds against somebody who could get their hands on a gun, even mentally ill. I would rather have the odds of them not hitting me, them being a bad aim, than I would that person not being able to get a gun and decide that they want to move on to bombs. You can't outrun a bomb. Ask the IRA. They used them very well back in the 70s. You're on CramerSez. What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name's Mike, buddy. How you doing? From Ohio.
Mike from Ohio. I'm doing great tonight. What's on your mind, Mike?
I'm sitting here listening to this, and I mean, I back in the early 90s, I'm 51. Back in the early 90s, I worked at a gun shop right outside of Cincinnati. Got a 21-year-old kid came in, bought the gun. I ran it 44.73. He passed. He took it home, got to proceed. Everything was fine. 3 days later, he took that gun, walked in his parents' room. I guess it was his father that was home, put the gun up against his father's chest and pulled the trigger. Well, I guess that nobody heard the shot because I guess the human body acted like a silencer.
Yep.
But the police department come back in the next day and they said, you sold this guy this gun. We need to see the 44.73, and he got to proceed. Come to find out, this kid had been in a mental hospital from 8 years old till he was 21. The day he came to buy the gun, he had just been released.
Wow.
So as far as the background check goes,
yep.
I mean, he didn't actually kill his dad. It came like 3 centimeters from his heart. So the father actually lived. My point is, the background check doesn't always work. You take the shooter that just that whole thing in Nashville, all that bullshit about how 7 guns from 5 different gun shops. And the best one to me was her parents when they said, "Oh, we didn't know she had a gun." I mean, that's fucked up to begin with. But anyway, that's another story. But the bottom line is, I heard them on TV today. They're bitching about taking. The best one is these weapons of war. Number one, it's not a weapon of war.
No, not even close.
That's a fucking joke.
Wouldn't even pass.
Yeah,
no.
I mean, that's right. That's what I'm saying. I mean, we have semi-automatic weapons. They have fully automatic weapons.
Right.
That's the best part. And I'm just this whole day, man. The shit with Trump, and it just.
Well,
when they indicted that man today, they completely fucking disgraced everything. I mean, it's crazy. It's nuts.
Well, Adam Kinzinger put a tweet out today that said that mocking Trump, that Trump said this is the worst day in our history, and Kinzinger says worse than Antietam, worse than Pearl Harbor, worse than 9/11, and
right.
Yes, I think so, because what happened today was that they revealed who they really are. They revealed what they're willing to do. That's why it's more. Right, it's worse.
Right, and the best part is they do this shit and throw it in everybody's face. Like, look what we can do. Look how much. This is my thing. The way the left is, I don't know. Obviously, their pockets are so deep. It's like just they can do anything they want. And I heard you talking earlier too about the whole stand up. Here's the thing. There was a time when it was we the people, but now it's people like me, you, the neighbor, the guy down the street. Nobody wants to pull together because literally, if it came down to it, if they came around to, like, what do they say? They came around to confiscate the guns. I'm going to be safe to say 70 or maybe even 80% of the American people, some would give up their guns for some false sense of security from our government.
Mike, I can already guarantee you that. Do you know how I know that to be the case? Because psychologists have, and it's, by the way, #science. They say that 80% of people across the planet, doesn't matter where you're from, what race you are, age, doesn't matter. 80% of people, 80% of the population will never stand up to any kind of authority, ever. They will always take the knee. All 80%. Now, if I know that, and these scientists know that, I'm pretty sure that these motherfuckers in our government know that. And they utilize that against the American people. So it makes a lot of sense that when you know that you hear the term about the 3%ers, about how dangerous the 3%ers are. Mike, why are the 3%ers so fucking dangerous to anyone in power? Not just the left, not the right, to anyone in power. Why are the 3% of people who are willing to do whatever it takes? Why are they dangerous?
Because you just said it, we're willing to do whatever it takes. And see, when you oppose something like that, they don't like that threat.
Right. I'm one of those guys.
Bottom line is, so am I. So listen.
Well, I'm not a 3%. I'm not a 3%. I don't want to say that because I don't want anybody going, hey, he's a 3%er. I've never seen him at any of the meetings. No, I'm one of those guys. I don't like to be told what to do. I don't like to be told by anybody what I can and can't do.
Amen. And see, this is my thing. I don't want to, like what you just said, I don't want to ever have to raise my gun to anybody, but I will protect what is mine at all costs.
And there's
the bottom line is,
there's a point, Mike. Let me ask you this: when you say that, I know what you mean. You mean you and yours, your family, the people most immediate, close to you. But what is it going to take to extend that perimeter outside of just your family? Because that's what it's going to take next, right? This is what I keep saying. I'm standing for me. I'm voicing my concerns for my family.
Me too.
Right? We only get change made if we come together. Now, everybody's afraid of coming together because every time that they start to go, well, that could be the FBI. They're going to come get you. Listen.
Right.
I don't know how to tell you guys this, but if you're afraid of your government acting on your First Amendment or Second Amendment or whatever right you have, if you're worried about your government using you, practicing your constitutional rights, if you're worried about your government using that against you, it's time to use your goddamn constitutional rights. I don't know how to get that through your head. Stop being afraid.
Amen.
We are the
Exactly,
power.
You're right.
We have it all. We are the ones who control everything. Mike, we have the power. I'm not afraid of my government. I don't fear them. They should fear me. What I do is I loathe them. I loathe our federal government because the people, I'm so tired of hearing about the people in the FBI, right? Oh, there's the good people. They got the good agent. Bullshit.
Yeah,
if you're not taking in your boss and you know what your boss is doing, if you're not a whistleblower right now, you're part of the problem and history will remember you. Am I wrong, Mike?
Exactly. And see, hell no, you're 100% right. That's the thing. You take a, well, like you said, FBI agent. we'll say that 5 of them is bad, but there's 3 of them that know that they're bad.
Exactly.
If they're not saying nothing, they're just as fucking guilty as the ones that are bad.
Exactly. They're complicit in the crime.
Absolutely. But see, here's the thing. You talk about people getting together. This is the problem. They keep most of the country in fucking complete fear. Oh, we've got UFOs. We've got balloons. We've got train crashes. Fucking, I mean, it's dude. It's like, I'm just.
What is it today?
For some, right. I'm just, every morning I turn the news on. I tell my wife, I'm like, I can't fucking wait to see what it is today. But yeah, it's just, to me, it's keeping the country in constant fear. This could happen. This is coming. This is coming. Right. We're at threat with this, or we're going to go to war with this person. We're going to do this. I've talked to my wife 100 times about the nuclear war. They're not going to nuke anybody because then nobody wins.
Nobody wins.
So see, then the whole power game, at that point, well, fuck, that's useless now because now nobody's here.
Yep.
And without them having that ability to control somebody, it's just no fucking fun for them.
Well, let me ask you this.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's a point, and I keep saying it. There's a point, and this is just common sense, right? Doesn't matter where you are in the country. There's a point that all people come to where they go, okay, that's it. I'm done. I'm not fucking doing this bullshit anymore. Ike, an earlier caller, said that he's at the end of his rope. Mike, you go to work every day. Are you tired of paying, how many weeks out of the year do you have to work just to pay taxes? You haven't made a dime yet. You go to work every day for weeks. I think the first 3 months of the year you give to the federal government.
Yeah, and see, that's the best part. I had a buddy of mine the other day, not changing subject, but it's kind of like that. The lottery. Back when they had that big ass lottery, the best part was the lottery. Everybody said, "Well, man, that guy was that lottery was 1.5 billion, and the payout was 673 million." Yeah. I made a post. I said, "Well, thanks for giving our IRS all that fucking free money."
Yep.
The best part, they bitched that we are at our debt ceiling.
Yep.
But yet $76.8 billion. Are you? I mean, really? That's it.
Well, Mike,
what they're giving Ukraine.
Okay, so let me ask you this: you're pissed, and you know it's coming.
Oh, I'm pissed. I've been pissed.
We've got the 2024 election coming up. They're going to tell us that it's going to be secure and safe. Do you think that's going to be the case?
Fuck no.
Okay.
No.
So we already know that going in.
They will do whatever they
we
want.
already know that. That's our expectation going in, that we can't trust it. They've given us 2020. We saw what happened in 2022. Kerry Lake is still fighting out in Arizona. There's still cases around the country. Judges refuse to hear the shit because they don't want to get it in the middle of the political thing, because they saw what happened in Florida with Gore and Bush. So they don't want to get in the middle of that, right? And be labeled as giving an election to somebody. So let me ask you this. 2024 comes. We see a repeat of 2020. What happens? What happens next? What do you think the American people would do then as their economy is failing? Because it's not going to get better between now and then. Right?
I would like to think that if that happened again, that somewhere, somehow, by whatever grace of God or whatever, that everybody would pull together. This is the thing. When the government did what they did with the 2020 election, I mean, there was evidence all over. And I'm sure you know that too. I'm sure you, there you go. There was evidence everywhere, and nobody has done a damn thing about it.
Well, I wouldn't say I wouldn't say that. There's a lot of people that have been working behind the scenes to get this rectified.
Right. But I'm talking about right.
Well, but let me. I got to put pressure back on the people, because it's up to you as well. It's not just them. You can't allow.
I agree.
You can't think, Mike. And when I say this, I'm pointing my finger at you and everybody else that's watching. If you're sitting at home and you're watching this right now, and you're saying, "Well, they haven't done anything. They haven't done anything," or "Nothing's being done," or okay, you've got to stand up and you've got to either financially support them. I know that's tough. Give them some fucking time. Call your people in your area. If you go to CramerSez.com and you go to the groups, what you'll see is tons of people have come in and created groups for different states about things that are going on. We're building the community. We've got it going on. It's happening, but you've got to be a participant. You got to show up. When you find out that there's going to be a group in your town that's going down to the city square or going to the Capitol in your state, and they're going to go protest, they're going to go regress their grievances against their government, show the fuck up and help them. That's my point. And I'm tired of people saying,
I agree.
So nothing's ever going to happen. Sorry, I had to step in on that. Go ahead.
I agree 100% with what you're saying. I truly do. And when I said nobody's doing nothing, it's just as one person trying to make, trying to, and I try to tell everybody about this. My friends call me, like conspiracy theorist and all this bullshit. But I mean, I try to tell people what's going on, and they're like, dude, you should really just put the phone down, get off the laptop. And I'm thinking, man, it's not that I should do that. Maybe they should pay more attention to it, I guess what I'm trying to say.
Well, and the reason it sounds like a conspiracy is because they haven't done their research. And when I say research, all you have to do is open the paper these days. You don't have to go searching that far. It's right there. Everything's in front, right? I mean, all you have to do is you see what's happening in Ukraine. And I don't know, I'm an avid news person. So I've got, newspapers from all over the planet. I watch news broadcasts from Australia, from Italy, from Russia. I mean, I'm looking at everything. And so that gives you a different insight as opposed to when you see the news, the local news, your national news and news on Fox News and MSNBC and CNBC and so on. Mike, when we watch those, here's what I've seen. Keep in mind, I've got a background in advertising marketing for the last 35 years.
Well, I got you.
Okay, so when I watch how they write things and how they present things, do you think that I would be able to notice the propaganda that has started as a small leak that is now being fed by a fire hose hydrant into our system? Do you think, can you see it? Can you see how they twist stuff on both Fox News and Newsmax, and they don't give news anymore. They give opinion.
Oh, I know. Opinion. That's what I was going to say. All they do is give their opinion. It's not even news anymore.
Which is propaganda.
Yeah, I agree.
That's propaganda. Right. That's not the news. Headline news. If you remember back in the day, CNN headline news had half an hour, and every 28 minutes they repeated all the news, and they would change it incrementally through the day. And new stories would come in, and old stories would fall out. But every half hour, you got the exact same newscast, and that was news. It was Bob Jones did this. This happened here. This happened here. This happened here. And these are the dates and times. And now what it is it comes with Trump, the insurrectionist president, right?
Oh my
and then
God,
they go
that
into the story.
That's got to be the best thing ever.
It's ridiculous.
I can't even believe they did it. Yeah, that's insane. I guess to me, when somebody starts talking about the insurrection, I think about all the BLM and the statues that got torn down and all that violence, and nobody. It's like, what? Are you serious right now? It's hard for me, man.
Did you see that the shaman got released today?
No.
Yeah, he got released today. They released him from prison. I haven't heard the entire story yet, but it couldn't help that, Tucker Carlson plays video that showcases, hey, he didn't do any of that shit that you have him locked up in prison for. Your government lied to you. The January 6th people, they lied to you.
The real tape of them walking that guy through the cat. It was just, I'm thinking to myself, are you? And the best part was the January 6th hearings. Notice we couldn't say shit. Yep. They could say anything they wanted. Yep. But we couldn't say anything. It's like shut your mouth and comply. You know what I mean? It's man.
Mike, that's one of the things. That's one of the reasons that I have a big problem with TikTok in particular, but social media across the board is that what they've done is they've conditioned you. When I say you, everybody, they've conditioned
everybody. I got you.
They've conditioned you to, if you speak up, if you do something, well, you could lose some followers, or you could lose a couple days on this platform, or you could lose money. We're going to take your ability to make an income on this platform away from you if you step out of line. And somebody said today on Instagram, they made the comment, they said, well, Kramer, what do I care if China has my information? What are they going to do with it? What do I care? It's not about you. It has nothing to do with you. The reason that I want TikTok banned is because TikTok has the ability to influence 150 million people. Now, when I say that,
exactly,
they could do it. Think about if they did a wag the dog type of presentation where they produced very slick content that says that they've just been nuked by Russia or Japan or even the U.S. How are we going to counter that? That's the Chinese government that has control of that. Not you, not I, not the American government. Now, I know that our government's doing it to us. We got to fix that shit, but we can fix that shit. Amen. We can't fix China. I can't go regress my grievances against Xi Jinping.
Right?
Can't do it. So I'll pick my poison. and I'll do it here in the United States. That's what people got to get their heads wrapped around. Mike, thanks so much for calling in. That does it for tonight, everybody. It's been a long fucking day, and I'd love to go for another couple hours. This is a hot topic. We're going to start doing, I think we're going to start doing the show tomorrow night at 9:00, because I think we're going to want to have a lot of conversation on this and continue this conversation about what's going on with Trump. I'm sure it's not going to stop. We're going to have more news throughout the night. This is Kramer Says. My name is Kramer Says. My name is Kramer. This is Kramer Says Live, and we'll be back tomorrow or as soon as we can. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Get more at CramerSez.com. CramerSez.com.